Hello, everybody. Tracy Mrs. JDog Flanagan with you here today. I'm the co-founder and senior vice president at JDog Brands. Welcome back to another exciting episode of Tactical Treasures podcast, sponsored by the JDog Foundation. Our podcast gives veterans, male spouses, active military members, military family members, and patriotic supporters a voice in the veteran space to speak about their service, how they're affecting their communities post-service, and they share with me a tactical treasure that has helped them in their journey in their military career, business, or life. Today, I am so excited to have with me Josh Parish, who is an Army Iraq War veteran and the co-founder and board member of Vet Life. His greatest passion is helping veterans when they transition into civilian life and giving them the best opportunity to be successful. Parish has over 15 years of experience working with local, state, and federal government agencies, creating programs that have developed sustainable solutions, including Veterans Treatment Court, transitional housing for homeless veterans, Veterans Transportation Initiative, among others. Paris has been awarded the Community Leader Best of Michigan Award and a Veteran Hero Award. He holds a Juris Doctorate degree from Western Michigan Thomas Cooley School of Law. Parish is an avid golfer and enjoys spending time with his wife and children. Hi, Josh. Welcome to the podcast. I'm excited for our discussion today, and thank you so much for your service to our country, sir.
Thank you, Tracy. And it is just a privilege to be invited on to your podcast. So thank you.
Thank you. Um, so, you're a golfer. I love it. I'm a golfer as well. I love golfing.
Yeah,
Although,
I could golf 7 days a week. I would. And I'm fortunate. I have 4 kids. So I'm fortunate that my 8-year-old daughter really picked up the game of golf. So it's my excuse to go to the golf course when my wife is wanting me to do something. So.
I love it. That's great. Um, okay, we have a lot to discuss today, but I'd like to start off with just a couple questions about your military career. So, what inspired you to join the Army?
So I grew up on a little Native American reservation in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, and my dad was the youngest of 13, and all of his brothers served in the military. And so, growing up on a reservation, it's a very tight knit family. So there's almost an expectation that you're going to give back to the community in some way. And I always knew that I wanted to join the military. I just didn't know what branch or what I wanted to do. I just always felt a higher calling to serve.
Wow, that's great. I love that. So, are you still located in Michigan now?
Yes, yeah, we moved off of tribal land in 2010 and we moved down near Detroit, Southeast Michigan in 2011.
Oh, wow, wow. Yeah, it's freezing here. I imagine it's freezing cold there as well today, right?
It is. And so I just put an ice bath up in my backyard and I've been doing the ice bath every morning. So yeah, I can personally attest that it is quite chilly here in Michigan.
Right, right. I would love to ask you if there is a particular aspect or moment from your service that stood out as impactful in a positive way for you.
Yeah, of course. So, I want to be brutally transparent with the listeners. I had a
Mhm,
really rough childhood growing up.
mhm.
I'm the oldest of six. My dad was very abusive to my mother and I, and she divorced him when I was 12. And so I took over as the man of the family, get the kids off the bus, get them ready for school, bath,
Right.
everything. And so I lost my way. I would say I didn't have a positive male role model in my
Mhm.
life growing up, and the military provided me that. It really provided me a sense of purpose and a sense of identity, and that's who I was for 8 years. And I love it. I welcome it, and I can't thank the military enough for giving me the opportunity to be able to give back to those people throughout the country.
Wow. Wow, that's amazing. That's great. What was your transition like? So you served for 8 years and you got out. Did you kind of have a sense of what you wanted to do, or I believe you ended up working in the county VA office. So talk to me a little bit about that.
So when I left the military, you're required to go through the TAPS program, the transition program, and the way that it was explained to me is that the TAP program was going to be your one-stop shop type scenario, where you were going to gain access to all of the benefits that you earned through your military service. And for me, that wasn't the case. There was a breakdown in communication from leaving the federal side to going back to the state side. And I struggled with some of the things that I saw over in Iraq that I wasn't able to process, I guess, accordingly. So I turned to alcohol after I left the military.
Right.
And, honestly, if it weren't for my wife, I probably wouldn't be here today. And, that used to kind of shake me to the core when I used to say that. But now it's just, I've come to the conclusion that, she's always been my savior, and I love her for it. And so, no, leaving the military was really, really difficult for me, not just because of that transition, but, when you're deployed to a combat zone, you have men and women that are always there with you, 180 days, 365 days a year. And it was really difficult when I got back from my deployment. I would just wake up at night and still think, there would be somebody next to me on the cot or to the left, to the right. We used to get up early in the morning before we went on our missions, have a cup of coffee, smoke a cigarette, and it just left a void in me. And alcohol filled that void for quite some time. And my wife finally said, enough's enough. You're not being a good male role model for your kids. And it really helped me stop that cycle, that generational cycle that, my father had passed on to me and that I could have potentially passed on to my children.
Right, right. Yeah. You got out, little bit of a rough time. So how did you end up working in the VA office? Was that your first job after the military or
Yeah, no, it's a great question. First job after the military was working for the tribe. I went back and lived on the reservation, and I was helping connect the dots for Native American veterans that, had left the service, some as far back as Vietnam, Korea, where they didn't gain access to their benefits. And
oh
so I
wow.
used all of the struggles that I went through as a catalyst to try to be a force multiplier, a positive, effective of change. And so I worked for the tribe for a few years, and then my wife actually accepted um, a position with a local university for her MBA, and we moved from the Upper Peninsula to the Lower Peninsula. And I applied for this county Department of Veterans Affairs job. I had no idea what it was. I think around 120 or 130 applicants, and they gave me the job. And the first day on the job, I had no idea what a county office was. I just, they didn't explain that to you during TAPS. And so my boss, I had asked him, I said, well, what do you want me to do? And he said, well, I'm of the sink or swim mentality. So you're either going to get it quickly or you're just going to fail at this job. And so I flourished at it. And I feel like it gave me back that sense of purpose and that sense of identity that I lost because I was able to help other people that were going through the same struggles as I did. So I was able to build out programs that I thought were unmet needs within the communities that I served.
Wow. So that kind of gave you a bird's eye view of, what our veterans struggle with as they try to tap into those VA resources when they get out post service. Um, so how did you what was your journey like to founding Vet Life?
Yeah. So, everybody has a defining moment. I'm sitting in my office and I get a call from this veteran, and it was very eerie. So, he had served around the same time that I did in Iraq. He had a daughter that was around the same age as my daughter back then. So, I have 4 kids. So, my oldest daughter now is 20, but back then, I think she would have been 12 or 13 in the day. So, this veteran had struggled a lot like I did after the military, but the difference is he had recently been arrested for a DUI, and so his wife was leaving him, and she took the kids, and he was under court order. I think he was on a tether, so he was only able to work certain periods of time. but it was just strangely so odd how him and I were so alike. And so this is the defining moment of why I knew we needed to start the nonprofit is I had helped stood up a veterans treatment court here in Michigan. And we were trying to get this veteran in that treatment court in lieu of jail. And honestly, it felt like he was doing really good. So my job with the county was a program director for an emergency relief fund. I was able to allocate emergency relief funds to veterans that were struggling. And so we had helped him out with some various things, car payments, food, gas, whatnot. And I thought he was doing great. I talked to him on the phone a couple days a week just to make sure that he was doing what he said he was going to do. And then I called one day and no answer. And I said, okay, maybe he's just working or something. Called the next day, no answer. The third day, his mom picked up. So he had committed suicide. And
Oh no.
That impacted me more than anything that I've ever seen, just because it hit so close to home. And so almost immediately after that, I quit my job at the county and I took a role with the state of Michigan, helping coordinate benefits for around 63,000 veterans. And quite honestly, I saw so many other veterans that were struggling just like this veteran had struggled. And so I was running into a lot of bureaucracies. So my wife and I sat down one day and she said, looked me just dead in the eye and she said, are you happy? And you give that candid response. Oh yeah, I'm happy as a man. You're not supposed to be sad.
Right.
But I was sad. I was only happy when I was helping other people. And so she said, well, have you ever thought about starting our own? We didn't know what a nonprofit or a foundation was, but we wanted to go just full bore at it. So we sat down and decided that day we were going to start the nonprofit. And really, circling back around, the defining moment was losing that one veteran. And, I still think about him today, not as much as I used to, but, if there's a higher calling or if there's a higher being, I hope he's listening and know that, I use that pain from what he did to himself to try to make the world a little bit better of a place.
Well, yeah. Oh, what a shame. So sorry for that loss that you experienced. And I'm sure it was even difficult because you were talking to him and unfortunately, I think sometimes that happens when you think somebody's doing fine and then all of a sudden they're not. Um, so hard, so difficult. So I think you're doing great work. I was at the website and I think it's really awesome that you're trying to sort of bring everything under one umbrella.
Mm-hmm.
So can you talk to me about vet life, how you function? Talk to me about some of the programs, and how veterans can find you and get, you know, tap into your resources and services that you offer.
So our main platform, the parent company of VetLife, is designed to be a one-stop shop for veterans and their families. We call it a single source touch point. We started doing that by creating brand awareness with our forward-facing events addressing unmet needs. And one of the events that really put us on the map was called Vet Fest. So my wife and I started that event at our kitchen table, just the two of us. And we said to ourselves, okay, why aren't veterans accessing their benefits? And we really think that there is a breakdown between gaining access to the benefits and then the resource providers. So veterans are just unaware of what benefits they're entitled to. And quite honestly, they're just not going down to the veteran service organizations like they used to during Vietnam or even Desert Storm. So what we see is a lot of veterans that fall through the cracks. So we created this event called Vet Fest. When we stood it up, it was really simple in its concept. It's a free event for veterans and their families. And we tried to be as non-adversarial as possible because a lot of veterans don't want to feel like they're broken or that they're getting a handout. And so we invited the vetted resource providers down to help connect the dots. First year we held it, we thought, okay, maybe we'll get 300 to 400 people maximum. That was a win for us. Almost 1,800 people showed up to the event.
Oh my gosh. And what year did this event take place? This
So
first event?
the first event took place in 2016, or I'm sorry, 2017, when I had just started working for the state, and we were coincidentally starting the nonprofit as well. And it just really got me thinking, there's Michigan alone has 465,000 veterans
Wow.
now. Back then it was more, but less than 18% were connected to a military benefit. And so we thought that if we brought the resources to them, they would be more open to gaining access to those benefits. And so now VetFest, fast forward to 2024, is the country's largest free outreach event for veterans and their families. It's being replicated by the VA in all 50 states. And now our primary focus is on creating a platform called Battle Buddy. So Battle Buddy is an app that we're creating right now. It's a text-based and a web-based platform. But what I've done is I've taken every resource and benefit that a veteran is eligible for, and I've given them ease of access on their phone. So they can access those benefits on their own time. Because
I
here's
love it.
the real issue is that when you leave the military, you do need some time to decompress.
Mhm.
And so not every veteran's journey is going to start as soon as they leave the military. It might be 3 months or 6 months down the road. But if you're like me and you don't sleep very much, you get up at 4 or 5 in the morning and you can go on your phone. And if you want to search VA home loan or disability compensation, healthcare, education benefits, workforce development. So we hand pick our vetted resource providers to be a part of the platform. And I'm happy to announce that in 2025, we've been asked by the state of Michigan to field test in all of the National Guard armories. So I'm going to be able to tell you real time what unmet needs are in the veteran community and how we can offer that solution of providing the Battle Buddy platform to them.
Hello, viewers and listeners. I would like to introduce you to the JDog Foundation, which is a 501c3 nonprofit dedicated to the prevention of veteran suicide and the healing of veterans' mental health. 100% of all proceeds received by the JDog Foundation goes directly to several foundations focused on the mission of saving veterans' lives. Each partner is hand-selected by our executive director, Jerry Flanagan, with input from the assistant director, Tracy Flanagan, and the JDog Foundation board members. Our foundation's motto: saving lives, one veteran at a time. Go to jdogfoundation.org to take a look at everything that we're doing there and the organizations that we're partnered with. You can also donate, and there's also a support line if you're in need of help. Thanks. Check us out. jdogfoundation.org. Wow, that's amazing. I love it. That app is really something else. So the Vet Fest, if I understand what you're saying, is it's vetted resources come, set up tables,
Mm-hmm.
have all the information, and the veterans come and go through and are able to see what's available to them and connect.
Yeah, more often than not, they're doing their intent to file right there on the spot with an accredited veteran service officer. And
Wow.
so we've been tracking metrics over the years. And so we use data from a federal report that shows us how much federal money comes back into the communities here in Michigan and throughout the country. And on average, our VetFest event brings back about $11 million annually just in that 6 county region that the VetFest really serves. And so we see a 60% increase 1 month after our VetFest event, where veterans are going down to those local resources that we're providing to them at the event. So it's honestly, it's creating what I call a direct economic benefit, because if I can get one veteran service connected or get them a VA home loan or access to education or a job, that's money being spent to stimulate the local economies where the veterans live and work. And so that's been a big um, win for us working with the local, state, and federal government.
Wow, that's great. And so how is the foundation funded? You're a nonprofit, so and I understand by looking at your website that that there's no charge to the veteran trying to come in and access through VetLife. That's correct?
We will never charge a veteran and their family for any service that we offer. We operate off of we do galas and fundraising type events. We have private donors, grants as well. But the Battle Buddy platform is unique because the resource providers that we invite to be on the app, we want to work with them long term, but we also want to ensure that when a veteran goes to them, that they're going to get the services that they say that they're providing.
Right.
So we operate our MSAs on a 12 to 24 month process. And so that vetted resource pays marketing agreement to be on the app, and then we can in turn expose their services to the veterans that utilize the platform.
Okay, great. That was going to be my next question. If the vetted resource had to pay to be on the app. But that's awesome. I love this. I think it's amazing what you're doing. I imagine that there's no qualification except that the person is a veteran and the family is obviously a veteran military family, correct?
Correct. Yeah. So think about it this way: when you log onto the platform, it asks you if you're a veteran or a dependent of a veteran, because dependents are eligible for certain benefits as well. Then we go one step further. We ask if the veteran was honorably discharged or other than honorably. If they were other than honorably, we'll help apply for the discharge upgrade with them or get them to the appropriate resource that can help with the discharge upgrade. Because what we're seeing is a lot of veterans being other than honorably discharged due to mental health reasons. And so that ties
Mm,
back to PTSD
sure.
99.9% of the time. So we we tell these veterans, or what we're trying to explain is that these veterans can't process, kind of like me when I got back from Iraq. I wasn't able to process some of the things I saw, so I turned to alcohol, and we call that a negative coping mechanism. But think about it this way: if you can't get the help that you need while you're serving, and you turn to drugs or alcohol as a coping mechanism because you're not getting the requisite mental health care that you deserve, and then you fail a drug test or you get a DUI, and then you're essentially kicked out of the military and you're not able to gain access to those benefits. I
Right.
just don't think it's fair to the veteran, when the government was really the one that created that mental health concern for that veteran.
Sure. Sure. Yeah. Got you there. We come to the point in our discussion here where I have to ask you, what is your tactical treasure that you would like to share with us today?
I think I thought about that question when you sent it over, and I really, not to sound cliche, but even veterans, as we're speaking right now, are contemplating not being here anymore. And I've gotten to the point, or I got to the point in my life where I didn't want to be here anymore either. And honestly, this thing popped into my head, and it said, "This too shall pass." And you know, your day is made up of 24 hours, 365 days a year. You can have a bad day, you can have a bad month, but at the end of the day, you are going to wake up one day and things are going to get better. So if I could offer one, word of words of wisdom on my end, it really would be, this too shall pass, because it does get better eventually.
Yeah. I, yeah, I guess that is considered a cliche, but my mother used to tell me that all the time. She
Yeah.
would say, "This too shall pass," and it's true. You're right. You can have a bad day, you can have a bad month, but in the end, change happens.
Yes.
Change happens. It does. And so I love that. That's a great tactical treasure. And I love your little words of wisdom. But would you have any other advice for fellow veterans struggling with transition to civilian life or even struggling with mental health issues?
Yeah, yeah. So I, I would tell them, and mind you, I've went through all of these things that I'm sitting here telling you. So it's not just empty promises.
Right.
I've been at the lowest of lows and I've been at the highest of highs. And so I'll say this, you know, it's okay to not be okay. And sometimes when I say that, people look at me kind of weird, but it's okay to embrace not being okay, because at some point in your life, you're going to grow from that and you're going to learn from that experience that, hey, it's not that bad. It's like basic training. They pump you up and they tell you it's going to be, a really, really hard experience. But if you just embrace it, it does get better. And so I tell veterans that, because a lot of veterans will come to our events and they'll just be down in the dumps and they'll say, nobody cares about me. I left the military, and this whole thank you for your service doesn't resonate in the veteran community that a lot of people think that it does. And so I always just tell people, it's okay not to be okay. And we're going to be here for you. We're creating that network and that community to ensure that you don't fall through the cracks. So,
Yeah. Yeah, that's great advice. So they should definitely tap into you and your resources.
yeah.
So that leads me to my next question. This has been amazing discussion filled with a lot of information. So how can people, veterans, find and connect with you, and how can they, get more information about vet life and get involved and, you know, be able to tap into your resources?
Yeah, first and foremost, I would say that your central point of contact would be at our website, www.vetlifetoday.org. And that has everything that you're going to need: access to the Battle Buddy platform. We have a radio show where we bring veterans on. It talks about all of our events. I know I just mentioned Vet Fest, but we have kids football camps. We have food insecurity events. We help deal with veteran homelessness by providing essential winter items. So think of us as your central point of contact for every single benefit, and not just here in Michigan, but we're national as well. So I
Okay.
don't care if you're in Florida, Pennsylvania, Alaska, we have access to every single resource that you're going to need to ensure that you're going to get the benefits that you earned.
Oh, wow, that's great. I was just going to ask if you guys were national. So I'm assuming that some of these events, like the Vet Fest and that sort of thing, are they kind of all over the country or different states?
So the way that the Vet Fest under Vet Life works is we are here in Michigan, but the VA, the Veterans Experience Office, had contacted us a few years back and asked if they could replicate the event through the VHAs, the Veterans Hospitals.
Oh,
So,
okay.
to the best of my knowledge, each VHA is hosting a Vet Fest annually, and it may look a little different from the ones that we offer, but I can assure you that at the very least, the resources will be there to help connect the dots for you.
Wow. Okay, great. Thank you for that information.
Yeah.
Josh, this has been amazing. I appreciate you coming on, and I appreciate you sharing everything about what you're doing at VetLife. I think it's an awesome organization and will certainly get the word out. And I especially want to thank you for being so transparent and sharing about your experience. You never know who might be listening that just might need those words and your experience to be able to say, hey, I'm not alone. There's other people out there that have struggled and are on the other side. So thank you for being willing to be vulnerable. I appreciate it.
No, thank you. It was a great opportunity.
This has been great, Josh. Thank you so much for your time. Hello, viewers and listeners. Thank you so much for joining us for this episode of Tactical Treasures Podcast. We just finished up a very enlightening conversation with Josh Parish, who is an Army Iraq War veteran and the co-founder and board member of Vet Life. Vet Life is a nonprofit organization formed in 2018 by veteran families for veteran families. The organization was born out of Parish's own struggles after leaving the military. They became painfully aware of so many other veterans who were facing the same struggles. The large number of veterans unaware of benefits and the rising number of veteran suicides was the motivation behind forming a nonprofit organization with the purpose of promoting a safer, healthier, and prosperous civilian lifestyle. This is how the name Vet Life came to fruition. Vet Life is about living your best life after the military. They provide veterans with a network of sustainable solutions and resources to improve the quality of civilian life. Their events are completely free to veteran families and promote a sense of camaraderie among other veterans while also providing valuable veteran-specific resources. To learn more, go to vetlifetoday.org. Thank you for tuning in. You can find our Tactical Treasures podcast on all your favorite podcast streaming platforms, as well as Vet TV, American Grit, and our dedicated YouTube channel. We are now airing on Reach Across America Radio on Thursdays at 7 p.m. Eastern. And if you miss that, be sure to join us for the encore on Saturday at 1 p.m. Eastern. You can also find Reach Across America Radio on the iHeartRadio app, the Odyssey app, and the TuneIn app. We are also proud to share that our JDog Foundation is a Reach Across America sponsorship group. For each $17 Veterans Wreath you sponsor, $5 goes directly back to the JDog Foundation, whose mission is to prevent veteran suicide and heal veterans' mental health and PTSD. You can donate right now at reachacrossamerica.org/JDog. Again, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you again on another podcast real soon. Bye-bye now.